Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blue Soccer. And John Dave and myself are going to review Leinster's match against Edinburgh last weekend, all the other Pro 14 action, and of course look forward to the European quarter-finals. So lads, 28-11 over in Murrayfield. We had mixed views on it, John. I thought we were crap. You weren't quite as glass half empty as I am.
No, well, obviously we lost 28-11. We went ahead. I was actually surprised when we went ahead, to be honest. I was expecting to kind of come up short, but I didn't think the lads' heads went down. I thought they there was lots of things you could fault, but they looked pretty committed in defence. They looked professional and looked like they were trying for the whole game.
Yeah,
which is something you couldn't have said about, say, performance in against Connacht last season or a couple of other performances. So, we didn't need the result. So I don't really care that we lost too much. Third loss of the season in the Pro 12 or Pro 14. So job's already done. There were semblances of a performance there, is what I'm saying, and there's something to build on. So.
Lots of the weekends, of the top 10 tacklers of the weekend, 3 or 4 were from the Leinster team.
Yeah.
There was a lot of effort. There were faults in the performance, certainly there were. There were things that just weren't good enough.
Of course.
But then you have to look at the composition of the team. You had, a fairly makeshift front five. You had, Josh Murphy playing at lock, which isn't his position. You had a number 9 just coming back from injury. You had a 10 that wasn't originally selected there because he had to step in at the last minute. You had a 12 who's just coming back from injury. There was you had a guy making his run on debut at fullback. So there was lots of stuff that was.
You left out one fella, Edinburgh's 16th man.
That's their shite house.
Oh right, yeah. Well, I'm not. You know me. To a certain extent, we gave him plenty of opportunities to do. I mean, one of the things that was bad about the performance was our discipline was quite poor. There were a couple of times, I remember one instance when he told Mick Carney 4 or 5 times to leave it alone, and he didn't. Things like that really do grind the gears. But
what really disappointed?
He told Dan Levy to leave it alone when he was completely legitimately entitled.
He may well be, but the player doesn't make the call. The referee does. The thing is, though, that
he's so good though that he already had the ball before he even called it.
That's possibly true. But we did go out with an underpowered front five, really, and it showed. I mean, guys like Marcus Bent, Michael Bent. Michael Bent, I thought, had a really good game. He shut down Bill Matta quite comprehensively.
Yeah, their back row was not in evidence the way you would have expected.
The one area where you could say that we dominated was in the back row. Our back row was superb. I thought Max Deegan, back at number 8, which is his best position, had one of his best games this season. I thought Dan Levy looked really good and sharp when you consider he was another one who was returning.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know what you get from Rhys Ruddock kind of thing. But games between now and the end of the season are really going to be used to run guys into between now and the end of the regular season, I should say, are really going to be used to just run guys into fitness and form, because they serve no other purpose in a way.
Well, there's only 3 left now, so
Yeah. Well, the thing that just really gets on my wick is when you get off to a good start. You get a try penalty and then a try ahead. You're ahead after 15-20 minutes, and then I don't know what happens. Maybe just lack of concentration, but they just seem to take their foot off the pedal completely. And then we barely scored a point after we scored one more penalty after 15 minutes. So we scored 3 points in 55 minutes of rugby, and that's just not good enough. And I know you're saying that the team was a bit underpowered. I'd say but if you go through it, there was some, we're making the case of Cronin should be starting for Ireland, he was playing, Ed Byrne was, he's a contender for I wouldn't say Ireland now, but he's a contender for getting
European.
a bench spot on the European team. Yes, I agree with you. Our second rows, I would say, would be a point of weakness. Then you've Rhys Ruddock in the back row, Dan Levy, 2 lads that have got a rake of Ireland caps.
Look at who they were up against them.
Okay, but you've got, Jesus Christ, Luke or
Hamish Watson and John Barkley.
Okay, but Dan Levy, admittedly, he's only coming back from injury, but he was, say, unofficial player of the Six Nations last season. He was magnificent.
Oh yeah.
He was great in the European Cup run. Rhys Ruddock is captain of Ireland. You know, like he's not like he's a novice. Luke McGrath coming back from injury again. I admit when I tell you he put in some. Like he's such a brave fella.
Sure is.
Like for a small lad, he does put himself about. There was obviously some fellas that in the backs that are quite inexperienced. Granted that's true, but there's some fellas around them like that. Have quite a few Ireland caps and didn't really. That was a game for Fergus McFadden to shine, and he was quite anonymous in it.
But I would say in favour of McFadden and indeed back three, it's very hard to shine if you just, if you don't have the platform.
Granted, yeah.
And I don't
Or
think
the ball, in fact.
I don't think we had the platform. And then of course we had injuries. Noel Reid went off with a HIA
Early on, too.
early on. Sean Cronin didn't come out in the second half for a similar thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard, and to a certain extent, Saturday or last Friday was all about this Saturday. There are guys in there that the management will want to have seen, run some yards into them, see how they're doing, see how their injuries hold up, and it's always disappointing to lose. But it's weird because I don't think we've ever been in this situation before because playoffs haven't been around this long. We've never been so far clear so early on in the season, so it's very hard to know how to react.
But I think what I was just hoping for was fringe players just playing as well as they can, probably in faint hope of getting on the European team, but putting that extra ounce of effort in. I'm not saying I didn't put effort in, that's probably the wrong choice of words, but I wanted to see them put as much pressure
seize their chance
on the fella who's ahead of them. I wanted to see, say McFadden put pressure on, say, just James Lowe, for example, who's the man in possession of the jersey at the moment. I thought, say, fellas came back from injury, thought Luke McGrath and Dan Levy were, put in a fine performance considering that how long they'd been out for. But I just wanted to see the fellas like Michael Bent put that extra bit of pressure on the fellas who are in front of them.
Yeah.
The other thing that should be taken into account is Edinburgh went into that match fully loaded.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With the exception of Blair Kinghorn, that was their first choice team. A team that we've thought had been pretty good this season. And they have a big game themselves at the weekend. So
and they did lose 3 of their last 4 games.
They did, yeah. They didn't go well during the Six Nations. No. And I don't think Cockrell would have been too impressed with that behaviour. So they were on a lot of internal pressure themselves.
But I think he was interviewed before the match and said that they had to win all their matches.
Yeah, he was talking about cup finals, a series of cup finals.
So clearly they want to win next weekend, but long term they want to qualify for the European Cup next season. So in order to do that, they've got to win all the remaining fixtures.
And they've got some doozies as well. They've got Ulster, the Cardiff or Scarlets away next up, and then Ulster at home, and then they've Glasgow. So serious set of fixtures there, and Munster in between in the Heineken Cup. So I don't know, expected to beat Munster, but you wouldn't know. They're at home.
30,000. Well, we get onto those matches shortly.
Yeah.
So we'll just go through the other fixtures and then concentrate on Europe. So there was a couple of all Welsh derbies and good crowds as well for both of them. I saw the Cardiff Scarlets game or bits of it. And
what happened to Scarlets?
I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Have they kind of fallen apart? Not fallen apart, but fallen off a bit now that Pivac has announced he's off.
Possibly.
I wonder if there's an element of that to it.
We've said it before, but he's off to Wales, where a lot of them are going to be playing as well. So it's not as if he's going too far away.
That's true. But you're trying to think what's changed between.
Well, it seems to be just the 2 fixtures had good crowds at them. Particularly, there was 12,000 at Cardiff's match. Normally you don't see behind the goals or in the corners full at Cardiff's matches.
That's true.
And it was great to see.
Real feel good factor.
Of course there is. And I suppose that's what that knock-on effect has with their Grand Slam. And I suppose the reprieve that maybe their provincial teams are after getting. But it's good to see for the league. I want to see fuller houses. Like there was even in Murrayfield. I know It's an enormous stadium, but it was 6 and a bit thousand at that game, which is
Decent.
decent. I mean, I remember we were all there when there was 2,000, and there was probably 1,500 of them were Leinster fans.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose one game that was quite significant was the Connacht Treviso game, which Connacht came out on top in.
Yeah.
Two of them fighting for that playoff spot.
Yeah.
Not playoff spot, but
Yeah.
qualification spot.
Very, very important game. Very important win for Connacht. And the way they won it was very important too.
And they just stayed ahead of Cardiff, who also hockeyed the Scarlets.
Yeah. So I mean, that was that. I mean, both with Cardiff result, it became even more important for Connacht to do what they did. And they did it well. I mean, they played very well. I mean, because Benetton have been good this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They really, really have, and they've been good.
Like, they're still second in their table.
Yeah, they've been decent on the road,
Did that fall?
which is they've been decent on the road.
Ulster second, I think.
Yeah, they've been good.
Sorry,
They've
you're
been good
right.
away from home. I mean, traditionally when a team's building, they start off being strong at home, and then they kind of sack their away form. They don't really care. But Benetton have been good away from home this year, so it was a very good win for Cardiff.
Yeah.
Or for Connacht, sorry.
Well, it's made that conference kind of two sets of two teams. One of them deciding which playoff they're going into, and the other one deciding who's getting a home semi-final, or a home, and the other one gets a home quarter-final. So Munster or Glasgow are going to top the conference, and Connacht or Cardiff are going to come third, and the losers in those battles are going to come second and fourth. So there's a lot to play for, but it's not like our side of the conference where all the teams down as far as the Kings nearly are in contention, whereas those that in that conference, Ospreys are gone, Cheetahs are gone, and Dragons are not Dragons. Who's the bottom? Zebre are gone. So
Speaking of Ospreys, they did beat the Dragons.
they did.
Other Irish result was Ulster beating Southern Kings. I
They got
watched
their bonus. They got their 5 tries.
I watched the first half of that. Kings looked like they were going to put it up for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But have they looked like that pretty much all season?
Yeah,
Like they start off running amok, and then they get dragged back because they can't really. Teams tighten up against them, and they can't really compete with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was some statistic during the commentary that they've got a rake of losing bonus points, and I think they had 5 losing bonus points throughout the season, and that they were losing games by less than 10 points, and they weren't getting murdered.
And they probably scored a lot of tries as well, because they have.
That's what they do.
They have pace all over the place, but you can't score those tries without getting the ball first, and that's how teams have stopped them by not letting them have the ball.
Well, there was one other game last weekend as well, wasn't there?
2 other ones.
Glasgow. Yeah.
One
in particular.
We'll get to that. Glasgow beat the Cheetahs. No surprise there.
No.
So, and then the other to wrap up, all the home teams won in the Pro 14 this season or this week. The game you were alluding to, of course, Munster 31, Zebre 12.
Losing 12-0 at 36, 37, 38 minutes. They only got a try just before half time, and then of course they ran amok in the second half. But I was shocked to see those lads putting it up to them.
Zebre played really, really, really well for 36 minutes, and then when Munster got that try at half time, I didn't bother watching the second half because I knew what the result was going to be. Because you know how it works. You know how Munster play, how they ramp up pressure, how they get that. They know how. No more than any other top team, they know how to win those games, even when they're not playing well. And for 36 minutes,
they weren't playing.
They weren't playing well. I mean, they were being overran completely.
They couldn't have attacked the fish supper.
No.
Yeah.
But in the second half, they just it was once I as far as once that try in the first half, at the end of the first half, was the winning try as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, as I said, all the home teams won this particular round. So, turn our attention obviously towards European matches at the weekend. We take on Ulster. I think it's our 5th knockout game against them. I wasn't counting. We did play a Celtic Cup match in about 2004.
The one that
was a draw.
Controversially on try scored.
Yeah. I remember watching that match, and Jim Neal, it was really parochial. It was.
Yeah. But
Jim Neely and parochial in the same sentence.
Neither
Could it be
team had
true?
any idea what the rules were as regarding what would happen if the match was a draw. And I think they both came out for extra time only to be told there wasn't going to be any, or it was at the end of extra time, and they both thought there was going to be another period of extra time. Only it turns out it was tries scored, so it was a bit confusing. But the Celtic Cup, a long lost and unloved competition. Although I mean, it was a decent competition. Ulster won that
2
in its
years.
first year. Munster won it in its second, with a great victory over Ospreys. I think was it Ospreys or Neath? Which
No,
were
it was,
they at the time?
no, it was definitely Ospreys, I think.
Yeah, it was Ospreys at the time.
In the Millennium,
in
wasn't it?
the Millennium Stadium. Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was going to be a significant competition. It just disappeared.
I suppose with the addition of the extra teams into the league, and it's just hard to find the fixtures. Yeah, so like I'd say Ulster must be just sick of coming up against Leinster in
knockouts.
Like we were over at before the Wasps match, we went to watch Ulster versus Leicester, and of course we all rocked up in our Leinster gear, and of course after the usual jokes of your lads, you're in the wrong ground and usually a day early, blah blah blah. Then when they realised that there might be a chance that they were going to be they could be playing us, they soon changed their tune. Yeah, but they there was the European Cup final back in 12 and a Pro 14 final I think in 14 or
13.
Sorry.
Where they had to play it in our ground because
That's
theirs
right.
was being done up.
Yeah, that's correct. And then there was a couple of
And they were
semis
Robbie Dyack.
held up over the line, wasn't it?
Well, if
He
you
got it down. He
just got the ball down.
but he got it
would've
down
won
about
that.
4 seconds after the ref blew the whistle and
Yeah.
been held up.
One day Ulster will beat us.
Of course they were.
But
And Jordy Murphy has scored a try with Marty Moore pushing him
but
over the
I
line.
don't think it'll be Saturday.
And John Cooney will kick the winning conversion to the touchline.
I'm sure he will. But it won't be Saturday because I just think that they have too many players out, too many key players out.
Hendy still not going to make it. Definitely out, or
Yeah. Addison's out.
yeah,
Louis Ludick, I think,
Ludick,
picked up an injury at
it's
the
gone.
weekend. He's a big player for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of good players, but
there's a couple of young kids that are starting to come through now.
yeah, but maybe
But
a year
they're
too
there
early.
a bit too
Yeah.
soon. Agreed.
Keep the ball away from Stockdale and we'll win that one, I'd say.
Or don't let him chip.
Yeah,
Don't let him chip.
I mean, one of the best players, one of the most improved Irish players all season has been Robert Balakoon. But it's probably just that bit too early for him. But it'll be interesting to see how the Leinster exiles, if you like, go, because there's a fair few of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll be well motivated.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, it could happen, guys. Okay, it's unlikely, but if we play them, if we play them this weekend 10 times, we could lose one of them, or at least we could lose half of one of them.
Yeah.
So just the wrong attitude on the wrong day,
Yeah,
and
because I always say it, but local derbies, I mean, form to a certain extent
just
goes
go
out
out
the window.
Yeah,
I mean, so I mean, Ulster have a good team; they'll be fired up, but they're going to have weaknesses in certain positions.
if we can target them, we'll be grand.
They're going to be relatively weak in the second row, especially if and I'm pretty certain he's out. But if Henderson is out, which looks like they're going to be weak in the second row, they've Coetzee is a fairly one-paced or one-dimensional player.
Jesus,
Um,
I'd say that to his face.
Jordy Murphy's a good player, but they don't have the balance right there. I don't think.
And probably Nick Timoney
Oh,
is the
Nick
balancing
Nick
act in
Timoney's the
that.
balancing act in there, but you compare that to what we're going to put out on the pitch, what we're likely to put out on the pitch, or what we're going to leave on the bench, and it's not the same thing. But it's a year too soon for this Ulster team in a way. I mean, there's lots of good players in it, lots of good young players in it. Marty Moore seems to be rehabilitating himself. Eric O'Sullivan's looked very good. Tom O'Toole looks good. Balakoon we've spoken about. Lowry's a good young player. They've Hume. They've Aaron Kernahan from the under-21s. I mean, there are good players there, but just not quite yet.
It's gone very quiet on the Jack McGrath Ulster rumour mill, isn't it? One article in the Independent and zip.
Yeah.
You'd wonder if that was somebody jumping the gun on that. Anyway,
It's hard to know.
Well, one bit of Leinster did give a bit of a press release today on some of the injuries. Unfortunately, Josh Van der Fleer is out
Yep.
for the next.
Season.
Well, he's out for the season. So
Yeah, 12 weeks.
well, the rest of the season. Toner's obviously still injured. I said
He's
last
not
week.
going to make it.
He's
Neither
not
is Henshaw.
Cronin and Reed, both under
HIA.
HIAs. So
Might get
It'll
it.
depend on, because there is that extra day. Remember,
Yeah,
it's
they might get it.
it's a 5-day process and there's an 8-day turnaround. So you never know.
one lad that initially I was impressed. I thought he played okay in the first opening half an hour, and then he kind of his form started to fall away. Was Tomani. Like, you know, we obviously expected quite big things from him when we signed.
Yeah.
When you're signing a fella that was, you know, playing over in Montpellier,
He's
performing-
this season's Kirshner. That's what he is.
Oh, I think that's harsh on Kirshner.
He's this season's Issa Nasiwa.
He isn't me bollocks.
Remember Issa Nasiwa in his first year here? Yeah? No?
I do, but
Nobody wanted to
he
see
can't-
him. Nobody wanted to see him next or near the team.
Not well, certainly not out half.
I remember people saying his selection for the semi-final against Munster was a disaster
Really?
before the match, and that was at full back. You got to wait. You got to give guys, especially if they're coming from a totally different rugby culture, some kind of bedding in time.
I feel sorry
I
for the guy, to
wouldn't
be
start, I
honest.
wouldn't start him on Saturday.
But like, isn't that? That's very hard to fathom. That you go and you know, we don't have many foreign players in the team, right? We've limited numbers. We signed this guy. You know, you don't go out and put pen to paper for a very expensive signing if you're not going to play him. But like, we would be absolutely gobsmacked if he was picked on Saturday, wouldn't we?
I don't know if it'd be gobsmacked. I'd be surprised, but I don't know if it'd be gobsmacked. But you know, the thing is, the coaches looked at him, liked what they saw.
Of course they
Obviously, they signed him. They didn't sign him to play well straight away because they're not stupid. They know that it's going to be a bedding in period of time. It's great if they do, and sometimes they do. I mean, but not everyone's Ali Carew, like.
But I guess he's only here for 2 years, Dave. Like, he's already, like, we're 4 weeks away from the end of the regular season.
I would suggest that obviously he got an injury to put him out for a period of time. They would have been hoping initially that he'd be coming good about now after that run of game, so he'd be ready for finals rugby.
Yeah.
But that plan has been stalled by the injury, so he's a bit behind where he should be. Well, maybe not a bit. Maybe what is he? How long has he been out? 3 months.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, he's 3 months behind where I'd say the coaches think he should be. Which isn't great for Leinster as a whole, but you have to understand the big picture, and you can't foresee injuries.
I think he looks like a fella that is suffering from no confidence.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Because even there was one ball that kind of smacked him against the head,
That's
and I
right,
don't think it was meant for him, but he got in the way of it. But it looked bad. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but
it
in
can
fairness, I
happen.
mean, the ball was thrown against
No,
his
absolutely.
lung of his head.
Yeah,
like.
no, it was, and I say it was supposed to go behind him, but
Yeah.
it happened to hit him. But it looked bad, you know. But I thought he actually played well in the opening.
First
25
half,
minutes,
he was fairly robust in defence as you'd hope, but like the way we felt about Kirshner at the time, he never caught fire, and then all of a sudden we had a knockout game against Glasgow, I think it was, where he scored a hat trick, and he was
The final.
It was the final, yeah, and he was everywhere, and he was great, and we went, oh yeah, that's great, he's brilliant now, and then back to mediocrity the next season.
I think because he had the dreads when he came, I think we kind of might have just said, oh, well, he looks a little bit like Easton Nasiwa. Maybe he could be a carbon copy of him. And, you know, there's very few players as good.
There aren't too many Issa Nasiwas.
Yeah.
But it took Issa Nasiwa time to bed in. That's you know.
And he also had an injury early on in his career. He broke his arm
He broke his arm that
quite early in the season.
I'm not saying Joe Tomane is Issa Nasiwa because, I mean, he's not.
Because nobody is.
Because indeed nobody is. But, you know, I think it's premature, even at this point, because we're 3 months behind where we should be, to be making any significant judgments.
Unfortunately for Joe Tomane, he has replaced Issa Nasiwa, not perhaps in a like-for-like way, but I mean, the year that Issa Nasiwa left, he came in. So to some degree, he's replaced him, you know. But Leinster tend not to sign the big-name players they used to sign 10 years ago. It's not where we're at now, because our big name players are all playing for Ireland. We need somebody to come in behind our big name players, and you know, okay, we have Scott Fardy, who's a World Cup finalist. You know, maybe you would say he's an exception to the rule. That he is, a brilliant player that he is. I don't think that I think that Gibson Park is in great form. Last time I saw him, anyway. So I would have him for sure. Also, Luke McGrath's only well and all as he played, he's only just back from injury. So I don't think he can take a risk at scrum half, and I don't think he can take a risk at second row either. So you gotta have they're the two out of three. I think it's a no brainer. James Lowe is an area of strength. The other two aren't.
Mm.
I think there'd be a lot more head scratching and selection issues in the Leinster management office than there will be in Ulster's.
Yeah, they don't have as many options.
They certainly don't, do they? You know, not of the quality that.
I mean,
Reedy is out.
Yeah, Reedy's out as well.
And that's why I said earlier, Timony will be the one that comes in with Kutsia and Jordy Murphy.
I mean, they have some good players. I mean, Stuart McCluskey's a good player. Darren Cave's a very good player. But, you know,
he's not a European knockouts very good player though.
Not at this stage of his career, he's not. No, maybe 3 or 4 years ago he was, or maybe even 5 years ago he was at that level, but he's not now. Which is sad because
he doesn't get much that many games these days, anyways.
But you know, the bench wins games for you at this level, and when we're debating. And
we have Max Deegan or Sean O'Brien.
and we're kind of tossing around fellas' names there, and some of them aren't going to make it. Some of them are, will be starting or on the bench. But as you mentioned, like you might have Rhys Ruddock, you might have Sean O'Brien on the bench. Like,
will we have Lyon Jack McGrath or on the bench, or will we have his chaser Ed Byrne or even Peter Dooley?
Yeah.
None of whom I would be, depressed to see coming out. So there's some serious, and you've got Porter backing up, Tyke Furlong. So
like it's we've got an absolute ridiculous embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
But it's
and not that many injured either. I mean, we've named a few.
Yeah, just obviously and Henshaw.
Henshaw.
But it's going to be a great atmosphere because the Ulster lads come down in numbers. That game's sold out in only a few hours, isn't it?
It's sold out, no. But I mean, it's especially seen as now that the fear of Brexit has passed or seems to have passed.
Postponed
for now.
They can come down without fear of having
to get back. Well, they could get duty free. That was the only thing.
Are you coming from outside the EU? Yes.
I mean,
okay, you can have this bottle of whiskey for 20 quid.
It's a straight run down to Belfast through the tunnel to the Aviva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's a handy ground to get to. It's probably the handiest of all the grounds for them to get to.
Mm-hmm. And the train stops outside the door.
Yeah. So I mean, it's.
In fact, one of my Ulster mates didn't come down because he had issues getting a train back. So shows you how. Like, it's very easy to day trip from either by car or by train.
And it's always been a fixture. Ulster have always come down in big numbers. Even for back in the Celtic League days, they always came down in big numbers. Certainly did in the ODS that time as well.
And remember the Last Stand? There was a full house for that game.
Yeah. So it's always been a fixture that's attracted big crowds, from both provinces. And it's good to see that's still the case. And it is Ireland's oldest rugby rivalry. I mean, it was the first interprovincial match. So I'm glad to see it.
I suppose from an Irish rugby perspective, it's a great opportunity to get back on the horse.
Yeah.
2 weeks after the Welsh game, there's quite a few fellas who played playing for both sides.
Disheartened.
Well, it's just a good opportunity for them to get back in, and get stuck into playing high-level rugby again, and to kind of park what happened in those couple of defeats in the Six Nations and concentrate on.
There's nothing like getting back to familiar home surroundings when you've had a bit of a bad go. You know yourself. You have a bad day at work. You want to get home to your. So it's the same kind of thing.
To a bottle of whiskey, Dave.
Back to a bottle of whiskey and your cigar. But it's going to be, one would hope, restorative for the Leinster players to be back in a familiar environment, and they can kind of park the Six Nations. They don't have to worry about the World Cup just yet, and there might be a certain amount of freedom, mental freedom that they'll enjoy.
We hope so.
Well, we hope so anyway, because I mean, as with all interpros, and certainly as with all knockout games in Europe, if you take your eye off the ball, you're going to get kicked. It's going to
absolutely.
bounce up and smack you in the face.
That's
it really,
for sure.
really is.
I did
And
have.
Ulster do have the guys who can take advantage. They really
Yeah.
do. I mean, if they have Balakoon could be very destructive. Obviously, they have Jacob Stockdale. They have McCloskey who can make yards. You know, they have good players.
But he does have hands like tits.
He does.
So if he's
he
trying to
does.
get it out to the wing.
But they have guys who can cause damage. Jordy Murphy, we know how good Jordy Murphy is. Coetzee only does one thing, but he does it very, very well.
So I think you're harsh on him now. I think he's a fabulous player. But anyway,
I'm not so sure about that. But you know, they do have players. And if Henderson is back, which is doubtful, but if he is back, I mean, it could cause.
I had an Ulster fan say to me yesterday that Ulster shouldn't be too worried about this game because if they lose this, they're not gonna make Europe next year because we'll be so angry. We'll go up and kick their asses in the Pro 14, and they need to win one game out of the 3, and the other 2 are away in Scotland. So. He probably slightly tongue in cheek suggested that they shouldn't be concentrating on this game at all. They should be just using it as a training exercise and get on with the league. So
I wonder if the IRFU might have a little word in their ear to say, at Leinster's ear, to say, make sure that Ulster do qualify. So if you're going to rest some players, this might be the week to do it, lads.
Oh, of course.
Well, I think that that'll be in Leinster's mind anyway, because the game against Glasgow could be a factor. I'm not saying it will be, but could be a factor in who Leinster play in the semi-final of the Pro 12 or Pro 14. So they might want Glasgow to finish second in that group. So they might be in a position to do Munster a favour, or they might want Munster to finish second in that group. So they might be in a position to do Glasgow a favour. So there's going to be a lot of tactical thinking coming into that match.
You don't want to just keep losing games for the crack, though. You know.
No.
Going to pick one.
Because then you come to that semi-final and you have no form and no confidence.
Big time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we turn our attention to a couple of the other quarter-finals. So there's 30,000 tickets sold for the match over Murrayfield, which is great. Again, great to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like generally, as I said, they
And
played
only 19,000 of them are Munster fans.
I'd say there could be a few of them, all right. Like they hammered them down in Cork earlier on this November. I think it was 44-14. It was just that it was in November, so I think maybe the Munster seconds is a bit stronger than the Edinburgh seconds, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that'd be probably accurate. But Munster with the European heads on are a different beast than Munster with their Pro 14 heads
Yeah,
on.
big time.
No more than Leinster.
Yeah. So I think Edinburgh might. The only thing is Edinburgh have a very, very wily coach who prepare them to expect that. But as well and all as Edinburgh have played in parts this season, I don't see them beating Munster.
I think they have a better chance of beating Munster than Ulster have of beating us, just for the fact that they're at home.
Yeah.
Alone.
Yeah. But I still don't see them doing it.
But I don't see them doing it, no.
But they do have a kind of a European. No,
They like going on a run in Europe.
I was going to say
that once they did before.
This season now, I was going to talk about. I wasn't going to say a pedigree, European pedigree. But what they do have this year is they certainly have their European heads on. Like they've
That's
won
true.
4 and drawn 1 of their
Pool
pool games, and their opening, they actually lost their opening pool game away to Montpellier. So like they went down to Toulon and won, and they went to Newcastle and won. You know what I mean? Like so, they're certainly geared up for Europe, I think.
The one thing I would say is that they played Newcastle early in the season when they were playing quite well, but Newcastle fallen off a cliff, and they're literally about to fall out of the Premiership now at this stage.
Well, they're having a bit of competition for that dubious honour.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, Dean
They are
Richards
bottom.
has changed his views on relegation and promotion. But you know, it's.
I see Leicester are hovering just above the drop zone as well.
They're not too far away, yeah.
Yeah, no, they could get sucked into it if they don't change their form pretty damn quickly.
Yeah.
But it's not Jordan Murphy's fault.
It looks like Joey Carberry might be back.
That'd be a nice
That'd be a nice
addition from
Philip.
Munster.
Yeah. Because they played both, Blendahl came on pretty early on Saturday. No, what was it? Saturday. Yeah, it was
Saturday, yeah.
They came on pretty early on Saturday and kind of picked up things because JJ was kind of running into a lot of blind alleys.
As
So
is his want.
as can be his want. So it'd be interesting to see what if they have Carby back, who backs him up.
Yeah. Blayndale.
Blayndale probably. He's the guy who's playing the better rugby.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they do have the option then they can bring Blayndale on and slot him back to full back
Yeah.
if necessary. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, Leinster have done it, Ireland have done it, and
Yeah.
I'm sure Munster have also done it in the past. The one fixture, and it was looking like it was going to be more of them at the time of when the 6 round matches were being played. It looked like, I think, three of the quarterfinals were going to be made up of teams from the same pools, but this is the only one, Glasgow, Saracens Glasgow, that were in the same pool. Now Glasgow lost both their matches. They lost 13-3 in Glasgow, and then they lost 38-19.
A game that was actually closer than it looked.
Yeah.
Than the scoreline would indicate.
Glasgow just have a habit of being naive in these games. They were against us. Remember, we went over there a couple of seasons ago, and they just didn't reckon on Heineken Cup Leinster, as we were saying at the time, and I don't know if they're going to reckon on Heineken Cup Saracens. They certainly weren't reckoning on them in that game. Like you say, it was closer perhaps than the scoreboard, but it was their own naivety that killed them.
Yeah,
game.
every time Saracens got into the red zone, they scored.
Mm-hmm.
And every time, and Glasgow did brilliantly, repeatedly to get up to the red zone, but then couldn't push it that bit forward.
But we've seen from England in the Six Nations, especially against us, the two Vunipola brothers and
Mako's still out.
Is he?
Is he? I'm asking.
No, I don't know. Maybe he is. But if those two lads are playing and Owen Farrell's on form, you know what I mean. You can only really see one winner there.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that.
The other match on Sunday is Racing against Toulouse.
Well, hopefully we'll be praying for Toulouse by then. Unless Ulster do a number on us, we'll be praying for Toulouse to score us a home semi-final.
And
we'll know by then.
If the game goes on form, then Toulouse will win.
If it goes on French form, then the home team will win.
No, if it goes on French form, then Toulouse will win.
All I mean is their home and away works in
France. I know, yeah, but Toulouse are winning away from home, and they're winning in Paris.
I don't think that home and away thing kicks in for knockout matches, though, does it?
Possibly not, but
when there's something on the table that they kind of go for it, but when it's just a bog standard top 14 game, it's like
but Toulouse have been the team of the year in France this year. They've been absolutely superb. They've already beaten Racing in Paris, if memory serves. I could be wrong about that though. But they've certainly got it. They've won more away matches than they've lost, and they're trotting away at the top of the top 14.
Mm-hmm.
So on form, it could be. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that actually
Racing are focused.
That Racing are focused on Europe this year.
Losing finals last year.
I think the pain of losing that final last year has coloured their approach to this season, and that what would normally be a certain amount of French disdain for the European competition doesn't exist in the Racing mind.
Also, they have three fellas in their team, the two Irish lads and the Scottish out half.
Yeah.
That don't have that sort of don't care attitude. Like, they kind of do care about Europe.
That's true.
Yeah, well, Donnacha Ryan certainly does. Yeah.
Simon Zebo does.
The other two can be quite flaky though. But you wouldn't. Their flakiness isn't as a result of a lack of dedication to the cause, as it were.
When they click though, they
when they click, they're brilliant. Yeah, when they click, they're nearly as good as us, as we saw.
Indeed.
Well, actually, there's a few rumours knocking around that O'Gara might be going to coach in France or coach
the French
team during the World Cup.
The paper over the cracks of Brunel.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk that there's been the typical French coup d'état, where you look around behind you and suddenly your entire coaching team is completely different, and your microphone's been switched off. They're talking about Galtier coming in, and they're talking about Rog coming in.
Yeah, I heard him just before we started doing this. He was on off the ball, and he was keeping his cards very close to his chest.
Powder dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because did he give an outright denial?
He just said that he was contacted by an agent.
All right, so he's going then.
He's going, yeah. Well, I think the more interesting rumour about French coaching is the fact that they're looking at Gatti to to replace.
Yeah.
That'd be. I think that'd be amazing if he got the French team. They'd win the World Cup in 2023 with him as coach.
They'd be certainly in with a
At
bloody
home.
good chance.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Apparently they're prepared to offer him all the money.
Really?
Yeah, all the money.
He'd be
Not
gone.
just some money.
Desserts?
All the money.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Desserts? On the bus.
There'd be a lot of French players would suddenly find their lifestyles change
Yeah.
irrevocably if Gatland took over there,
Yeah.
because he wouldn't stand any rubbish.
Look what he does to the Welsh team. Like when guys coming out of, just on their fitness alone, like he absolutely batters them. But he seems to be able to do it. Unlike someone like Eddie Jones who breaks them all, he seems to be able to do it in a positive way, and he seems to get them in such amazing condition when they come back to play for Cardiff and bloody Ospreys. They're not at that level at all. So
Come back for a rest.
And
exactly.
The other
So
thing
he,
is that
if he got hold of that French team, I think they
The other
would be world beaters.
the other thing is that Sean Edwards, who was supposedly going to take over as head coach of Wigan, now apparently isn't, or appears not to be, because a pre-contract was supposed to have been arranged and signed by Sean Edwards. He says he never received such a document, and now he's not going to Wigan. So I wonder how much the timing of the French rumour has had an effect on it. Maybe he'd be going to
Getting the band back together.
getting the band back again. Well, he's played and coached in France before.
Is he?
Earlier in his career. So it'd be interesting to see if he's going over there with Monsieur Gatland.
Be interesting.
What's the French for Gatty?
Gate.
For Waza. What's the French for Gatland ball?
Ballon Gatlon.
Oh, very good. Oh, you're quite the cunning linguist.
Oh, yes. Dave, do we have any questions this week?
We've one or two. Brian Hughes, Whitehouse discuss. I think we did. I mean, his early nickname was Shitehouse Jr. I think that says it all. Tumane too early for an evaluation. Yeah, we said that as well. Sound is back. By the looks of things. Alan Kavanagh asked us about the match against Edinburgh. He said he was drunk at half time. Was that performance just not good, or was it really shite? And I think the answer would have to be that it was not good.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really shite.
Well, yeah, it's hard to know though. I mean, I just wasn't impressed, and I said earlier, I was just disappointed when I wanted to see, say, the lesser light players pushing on and really putting pressure on the first 15, and really there was no one in that team. Like, you know that Jack, that Luke McGrath's going to come into our starting 15. You know that Dan Levy is, but I'm talking about some of the other fellas that aren't necessarily going to play. I wanted to see a big performance from them, and I just didn't think we got it.
No, I wouldn't argue with you on that. I don't think it was quite as disappointing. I wasn't quite as disappointed as you were, for different reasons. But I don't think that what you're saying is inaccurate. I think what you're saying is quite true. That, there wasn't the same. Sometimes watching those young Leinster teams, every so often one of them goes out and absolutely nails it, and you think,
Yeah.
And that didn't happen.
I just
Now it wasn't a Dragons away job.
Yeah, see, that's what I kind of thought that it was leading to, because when you take the lead and you think, oh, this is looking promising. We're up, they're down a man in the bin, and we're up. I think it was 8-0 after a quarter of an hour. I thought we're grand here. We scored 3 more points in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, the second half performance can't be classed as anything other than disappointing.
I never thought we were grand here, unfortunately. I just thought, I'm surprised we're this far ahead in this game. I can't see it continuing forever.
And it didn't.
And it didn't. But I didn't think
I thought we were the better team for the first opening.
No, we were.
15,
certainly for the first 20 minutes to half an hour we were.
Like, I didn't see anything that I was worried about. And then a few decisions went against us. Levy got binned. We conceded tries. Sometimes if you can manage to keep the score down to maybe 3 points during a sin binning, but like when you concede a couple of tries, or certainly a try, it's psychologically it's quite hard to come back from when you've not only are you down to 14 men and you put the effort in to cover, then you still concede tries during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go, can we just have quick predictions of the semi-finals? Who will be the likely semi-finals?
Well, Munster Saracens, in a repeat of blah blah a couple of years ago. That game will be in Saracens.
Somewhere close to it.
So they'll have to move it to somewhere
somewhere within the
Wembley.
vicinity
Are they
of
still playing Wembley?
Twickenham, Wembley, Coventry. God knows, could go anywhere. They've gone to a few places over the years. Not sure they go for Twickenham or Wembley. Might be somewhere not quite as big. They did take the Ulster quarter final to Twickenham in 2013.
Was it not MK Dons?
In 2013, I was in Twickenham
Was it?
at it.
Oh,
And
there
it
you
was
are.
Ulster and Saracens in the quarter final.
They did play a game in City MK though. You are right there.
They did, yeah.
Can't remember what
That's a
team it was.
possibility. And then the other, the tasty semi final.
I think Toulouse will do Racing. I think that they're
I'd
young.
like them to.
I think that they're
Save
young.
us a fortune.
Yeah, I think the young players are really coming along well. They're coming along better for Toulouse than they are for France in many ways.
Mm.
You could argue that Toulouse are a better coach than France. So
Among other things.
I don't think there'd be that much between the two sides.
I'd
It's hard to know.
Yeah, I think we could be going to Paris if we don't slip up against Ulster to play Racing. Could we take them over there? Yeah. Probably wouldn't be favourites to do it though.
No, I mean, well, that's it. But if you're a team that fancies itself to be capable of winning a European Cup, then you have to be prepared to do it the hard way sometimes. You know, you have to. What is it? You have to roll the hard six. Isn't that what they say? Sometimes you have to do that.
I'd much rather, a 25-minute walk to Lansdowne Road than a trip to Paris, allegedly romantic and all as it is. I
I
think
don't know why you're looking at me when you say that.
I think I'd.
I wouldn't mind an old a Boeuf Bourguignon, the Cave Gourmand in Montmartre.
There you go.
That'd be rather nice, But at the same time, I'd much rather have a burger from the van in Lansdowne Road.
I'd have a burger from the van on Lansdowne Road and then go to Newcastle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Every time.
So I mean, I'd favour us to win over Ulster for the reasons we've already discussed. The game again in Paris, I fancy Toulouse, but it could be too close to call. Saracens obviously and Munster, not quite as obviously, but still pulling away. I think will be the.
I don't know if either Edinburgh or Munster are going to be able to take Saracens out of it in Saracenia.
I don't think that. I think Saracens are in the final.
Dead cert.
Yeah, I think so. I
Well,
think,
dead cert for semi-final. I'm not sure about
not sure who they play in the other semi.
Munster.
Yeah, I think they beat them. They beat them up pretty badly in
They leave it 2
in
years
Aviva
ago.
2 years ago, and Saracens have got better since then. I'm not sure.
So have Munster.
I'm not sure how much better they've
they
gotten.
have.
So
They haven't closed that gap, but they
no.
have got better.
They have an out half now, though.
Mm-hmm.
well, they might have. They certainly have a fullback, but
Let it go, Dave. Let it go.
never. Yeah, I think Saracens are nailed on for the final, let alone the semi-final. I mean, Munster will go over there and Munster will play out of their skins and they'll be absolutely superb. But I just think that Saracens have all the stuff that Munster have. They do have that. I mean, Saracens have all the doggedness, all the street wisdom.
That's the problem.
All the thing, and I think they've got better players at this point in their development. In a year's time, or 2 years' time, it might be different. But at this point in time, that's where it is.
If they have a bad run of injuries, look at what happened to them against us in the quarters last year. If they have a bad run of injuries and Munster don't, and Munster get a full deck, you never know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Generally, on balance, Saracens have 1 foot in the final already.
Well, my boys, as ever, thanks a million, and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.